All right, sweet. We're doing an emergency, wholehearted episode. No, I just wanted to bring up. Well, first, this isn't really a joke. It's more of a statement, but it is homemade. My wife puts the woman in womance.
Oh God.
It's better if you see it written out. It's
Womance.
like, yeah,
I got it. I picked it up.
Yeah, okay, good.
It took me a minute to actually frame the word in my head. Yeah. I like the look on your face when you said it, though.
Yeah. She would like that face even more than you.
Yeah, man.
No, I hit you up. I saw you had a free block earlier today, and every once in a while I'll have something that's kind of pressing on me in a positive way. Occasionally, and it's like, man, I would love to be able to go and talk about this while it's totally fresh. And anyway, so I had just gotten out of this therapy session where I was doing some EMDR with a buddy, and not a buddy, is my therapist, and
he's your buddy too.
He is my buddy. Yeah, we shoot the breeze probably too much, but the question that I wanted to ask and kind of talk about today is, how do you heal pain from a past relationship? So kind of keep going on this, what this session did for me. EMDR is so weird. I'm still trying to figure out what the heck it's doing.
What
inside.
Does it do, and why does it work?
Yeah. Because, we've talked about the woohoo element of like, what is it? Yeah. And at the same time, it moved something in me today. There was even a definitive moment where I was like, I felt a shift. I've been trying to be a little bit more aware of my breathing, just regularly, and especially while I was doing EMDR today, doing the hand movements, and the thing that I was focusing on mentally, emotionally, was this lingering pain that I've had from a past relationship, and talking specifically about with my ex-wife, and that relationship, and kind of how the divorce went down, and the reasons why and everything. And I'm not really interested in getting into the details of what happened there as much as I am wanting to talk about how the process that took place and how it has impacted me, at least so far, in reframing those traumatic experiences.
You mean the process overall, or the process that took place today? Yeah,
the process that took place today. Some of the things that are maybe relevant in this, I in my past, the way that I've managed stress and maybe even some traumas is that I will suppress memories, right? And I look back at different periods of my life where it's like maybe a couple of years where it's basically black, and I can't really remember much of what has gone on in there, but I might be able to remember what happened beforehand, or after, or in between. But it's like seems to be a mechanism that just
feels like it is just protecting you.
Yeah, just trying to protect myself.
Yeah.
Subconsciously even. And there's this whole period of life that I had with my ex-wife for 4.5 years where it's mostly black. And I think it's going back to that protective mechanism. So anyway, the way that the session went down today is, as he started doing the movements and giving me space, the starting memory and everything that I was working with, I wasn't in the mindset going into it thinking like, I was feeling pretty happy. Like I wasn't.
Pretty good day.
Yeah. Not just pretty good day, like a really good day. Like I'm having a great day. And to go into this session, it just didn't feel like I was in the right headspace to do the work. So I wasn't really expecting much in the way of outcomes. And so we start doing the work, go back to that memory, start doing some movement. Okay, what's coming up for you? And that's the cycle, right?
That's what you do in EMDR.
and we get to a point where I'm just digging further and further back into these memories that are starting to surface, and they're all painful, every single one that's coming up. And then something happens where it wasn't a memory, like another round goes by, and it wasn't a memory that came up, it was a song. And the song was Control by For King and Country. And the specific lyrics were, I give up control, body, mind, and soul. And, hey, what's coming up for you? Well, this song, and I don't know why I haven't heard
that coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, I haven't heard that in a long time, and it's not one I listen to frequently. Or, so that happens, and then next we go back into it, and the shift that took place was, first it was like an emotional shift, and then a split second after, I felt like physical, like something physically changed. And the way I describe it is, it was like I felt sorrow for my loss, and the loss being all the good memories.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was like the moment that I felt that, I didn't even like recognize it rationally yet. It was just like I felt it. My shoulders dropped, my eyelids dropped, and and I just felt like a burden had been lifted. And then we keep going, and from that point, moving throughout the rest, it went from all the memories being painful to all the memories being good.
Yeah.
So the thing that...
And you're feeling all of those too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not just thinking them, but feeling them.
Yeah. It was really bizarre because I don't necessarily want to think about my ex-wife. I'm in a perfectly awesome relationship right now.
Yeah.
So there's that factor. And then there's the pain of it. And the pain being, I don't want to remember the good moments and how much love that I felt, because if I don't, then I can't be hurt by them, right? It's almost like it's just subjective.
Yeah. And
the quote being, better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all, right? But that was such a big deal for me, and the way that it felt, recognizing part of the reason that I only remember the painful stuff is because I don't want to remember the love that I felt, because it amplifies
the grief.
Pain. Yeah, the grief and the loss.
The loss.
But the rest of the experience was so beautiful. Like, I remembered some of the inside jokes, some of the silly pranks, some of the the moments of seeing her in her goodness and femininity, and all of those things that I had not wanted to recognize. I just wanted to.
It would be easier not to remember those, because then you could keep your heart sealed off.
Yes.
Not feel.
Yes.
The way that you started to feel today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even, it's not like there's an ongoing relationship or connection there.
No. And you're not going to go reach out to her today.
Yeah, nothing like that.
Stoke that back up.
Right.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it was necessary for the healing that I felt. Like, it did feel like a burden was lifted, and even the word that kept on coming back up is just peace. Like, I feel so much more calm, and like I can approach those types of memories again when it feels right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess that's maybe my curiosity is, what with what you've seen and what have been your experiences and the way that people address past relationships specifically, not anything active or on or future, like past relationships.
It's at first I just want to say, like you just described, why I love EMDR is like, as a therapist, it's nothing that I even do other than just following the protocol and letting the client come to those conclusions. And look how beautiful it was that you were the one that kind of were in a spot where, for whatever reason, today was the day that you allowed yourself to go to some of those places, and the brain, for some reason, and the body are all working together without ever realizing that you go from a king and country song, which, by the way, those lyrics are beautiful if you think about how that connects into what you just described. I give up control. What was it? Body, mind, and soul. Man, like, you don't think that's part of your own inspiration, or maybe even God working through you? And then after that was then you're able to go to these places where, and this is what's so cool about past traumas, is that when the story changes and you can feel the change in the story, you're moving through them. So most of us have these negative experiences, and we prefer to hold on to the negative story because it keeps us justified in our pain. It keeps us safe and protected. And when we're able to actually let go of control and look at the actual story that's there and find, this sounds weird, but find compassion for the person who's maybe hurt us, find love for them, find goodwill towards them, find, in your case, positive memories inside of that relationship again, it does subject you to more pain. But this is what's really interesting, is in opening yourself up to the full experience of what it means to grieve the loss of those things and allowing yourself to feel, that's also the thing that's allowing you to change the story about it and go, I don't have to let this hurt me anymore. Like, there's something physically and emotionally shifting in you as you start to see it from a totally different lens. And I say see it, and I don't even mean it with your eyes. I mean it with your heart. Like, you start to feel it from a totally different lens, right? I was talking to a group of kids at the alternative high school today, and I was supposed to be talking about shame. Somehow one of the students there started talking about this resentment that she holds on to and how she's never going to let it go because the person who's hurt her doesn't deserve it. And I told this story about a resentment that I've held on to for 20 years, and who's suffered the most in those 20 years. Right? Like, and it's all been because I've refused to allow myself to grieve that I was mistreated, to allow myself to grieve the loss of what I thought should have been a different experience than the one I received, to be able to see and make human the person who hurt me over 20 years. And I've suffered as a result until the time when I've been able to just body, mind, and soul let go of control and say, I'm no longer the judge and jury, and I can maybe even find some positives in this person. Right? So back to your question a little bit, how do you deal with healing wounds from past relationships? I think one is to give permission for it to be a process. You've been divorced for how long?
7 years.
7 years. Is it okay that maybe you've only had blacked out things and only seen a couple of the negatives? Is it okay that maybe that's just how you protected yourself? Yeah. Is it sad that it took 7 years to have this shift start to happen? Yeah, maybe that's a little bit sad too. Can you give yourself permission to be in process? Because if you give yourself permission to be in process, you're already inviting that openness that you had in the EMDR session of like, I don't have to force anything. I don't have to cling to anything. I can just be in process. And now I'm open to whatever the experience is that's going to come, a song on the radio, or somebody's going to give a talk at something you're at and it's going to hit you weird and be like, oh, like, yeah, like, but eventually all of that leads to, this sounds weird, but the story can change. Even though the details might be the same, the story and the way I feel about that story shifts. And that's what EMDR does. Is it doesn't go and like blank out the memory. It's like, oh, I'm never going to remember that again. In fact, that's not what we want.
Yeah.
We want what you experienced and what you're willing to step into this thing and go, this hurts. I'm sad and I've lost that stuff and I will grieve it. But look at how you paired that with, you said the word peace. And I've seen this so many times in the clients that I work with, that they're in the midst of horrific relationship things. And it's in the midst of those things that they somehow come to a place of peace. They're not exclusive. They still have to navigate the pain, the hurt, the resentment, and they can find peace when they surrender it and when they start to look at it and feel differently about it. And I don't know how to make that happen, but I know that it does.
Right.
And I know that when the story changes, people start to see the positives, people start to see the silver linings. They go from that, it's called post-traumatic growth, where they go down into the hole and they not only climb out to where they came from, but they actually come up above it and they're better in some way for having been through the trauma. And they even get to a spot sometimes where they're grateful that it happened. You know, maybe you're not there yet.
No, I am. Yeah, it's
you know,
great. Yeah.
it's like now you can be grateful for the experience that trauma has brought you and the lessons that it's taught you and the way that it's changed you and the strength that it's given you. And then all of a sudden it's worth it to have gone through it. So I don't even know if I'm even answering your question.
No,
right now,
I think that's nailing it. I mean, so you're saying at least that it's a process.
No, yeah.
And then it's also a reframing of your story.
And it's not just this. It's things that allow this to do the processing and the acceptance of a new story.
Yeah.
Right? I could go to you in therapy face to face and be like, guess what, man? It's such a blessing that you went through all that terrible stuff. And you'd be like, bull crap.
Yeah.
You're a terrible therapist. Right? But you can sit there in an EMDR session and have your own mechanisms and God speak to you through king and country. Like, and then you're like, whoa, mind blown. And, you know, I'd be sitting there as a therapist going like, I wish I was your therapist. I could feel so good about myself. But it's all you doing all the work. It's you doing the work, and sometimes the work is actually letting go and not doing more.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you did today. You let it go,
Yeah.
finally, and it opened you up to a whole new dimension.
Yeah.
So I wish I had better answers. I know that those processes work. I've experienced them in my own life. I see them in my clients all the time. If I could figure out how to make that happen for my clients in like a regular interval, like third session, all right, guys, we're to the heart change part. Like, I would love to be able to do that. What I do know is that helping to foster opportunities for emotionally corrective experiences seems to be where I find the most success in my practice.
Yeah.
Whether that's through experience, whether that's through music, whether that's through some kind of like EMDR session or other trauma work or the projects that we do in our groups, they're all geared towards taking that shot, aiming at the target of the heart, having an emotionally corrective experience. So, what are you laughing at, Chase?
I believe.
I believe.
I'm a believer. You know.
I think it's so cool, man. I'm just so happy that you had that experience today, and that we had the time to be able to get together and actually process it together, like you said, while it's fresh, because it does feel different when it's fresh.
Yeah.
Right? You know?
Yeah. Actually, and you know, it's so funny too, because I think this type of stuff, there's the direct impact. You know, when you actually think about it, and it's like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the subconscious stuff.
Yeah.
We don't even know what it's doing to us.
Sure, you're guarding your heart a little more, even in your own marriage now,
Yeah,
or whatever
yeah.
else is going on. Yeah.
Actually, yeah. I mean, it's just so funny how it works. But what a gift that it's possible to work through some of that stuff. And yeah, I think experiencing it for myself makes me want to just, you know, shout from the rooftops like, hey, you guys try it out.
Hey guys, there's freedom here.
Yeah, there's some freedom in the pain.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it makes me think of that song "Life in the Pain" by Safety Suit that talks about. I almost listen to those lyrics as if it's God speaking, and he's saying, you know, if I could, I'd let it hurt you, because there's something about life in the pain. And man, when you go into a situation knowing that there's a God behind you that loves you enough and trusts you enough to confront that pain, and that there will be treasure on the other side of it, it's so much different than just the suffering of the pain.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so hard because we have that continual wrestle just to be able to embrace those things in that light. But when we do, there's a lot of beauty in it. There really is. So thank you for letting me be a part of your story. You know, it was a gift, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I love you, Ty.
Love you too.
Yeah, man.